We're towards the beginning of Perek Nefesh HaChaim. We're talking about the Seder Hishtalshelus V'Iskashrus Ha'ilama Shekol Olam Humisnaheg. Just read the second paragraph. Yadua b'zayar kisa arizal b'seder hishtalshlus v'ishkashrus ha'ilamos shekol olam hu misnaheg b'sidur matzavay b'chol prate inyona k'finatias koyach ha'olam sha'alav shmanhigay k'neshama es haguf v'choin hoylei chalzeh ha'seder gavaya me'al gavaya ad she'yisbarach shmoi nishmas kulam. So I gave an introduction to this. I think it's simply impossible to understand without an introduction last week before Yom Tov, and I want to give another introduction today at the Dhamma base. But just to review quickly, what's important to know is that although we're familiar with the world that we live in, somewhat familiar with the world that we live in, and the advanced discoveries of science and physics, but is mind-boggling, but it's all in a world of the physical. It's all what you could see under a microscope or even far distances where you could see with a telescope. But it's what you can see. The world of science is all about seeing is believing. To limit the human experience, or to limit more so the creation of the world to what we could see, and not take it to another dimension, is not only limiting, but it's all silly. It's just, if you can't see it, you don't know it's there. Nachon, but we know it's there because we have a Torah that we had Nevi'im that tell us what is there, and then we know once you know it's there, you see that it works. It's similar to saying, seeing is believing. So I don't believe there are Wi-Fi waves in this room, or AM or FM waves or microwaves or whatever else that it is, but that food's getting hot. The thermodynamics, we don't even see heat. You can only see the reflective heat. We don't even see light. We can only see the reflection of light. But obviously there are light waves and there are sound waves and there are much more esoteric waves that are making our iPhones work, like Gavel. So that's still in the world of science, but it defies the idea of seeing as believing. There are things that are there, clearly are there, that we don't see it. There's, atmospheric pressures, there are all things. But anything that can be measured by a scientist is all in the world that we can touch and feel. We know that that we can identify. There's an infinite amount of worlds, but to know what we don't know is that there's the world of Asiya, 4 worlds. There's the world of Asiya that we live in. There's the world of Yetzira above it. There's the world of Bria above that. There's the world of Atzilus above that. And all that doesn't touch HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Malay Kol Ha'aretz Kula. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere. It's even silly to think, juvenile to think, that there's Asiya, Yetzira, Bria, Atzilus, Hashem. But we don't go there. That's not... HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not another world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the power which is powering everything. Malay Kol Ha'aretz Kula. If you look at your basic Kabbalistic chart, even what you don't understand, what you can see just picture is that there's always a picture of circles and what they call it, concentric circles that go one inside the other, with the Or Ein Sof going all the way through. There's an aspect of infinity into everything which is finite. So it's not even, just I want to, again, we don't need to understand it per se, because there's what's to understand. It's like trying to explain to a blind person from birth the color orange or the color green. That's not something, or somebody who never had a koach of reach, try to explain to them, that smells like this smells like that. Yeah, you could explain it intellectually, but you can't understand it. Nobody can understand it in experience. So out of our realm of experience, for the most part, is the other worlds. We can touch a little bit. So those are the worlds that we understand, and that's the Metzius. And I keep on repeating this because I think this is a very important insight. The Metzius of another dimension, besides for the dimension that we can touch and feel, makes a huge nafkamina in this world. It means that we don't really understand what's going on, other than what we can understand scientifically. Meaning it's so limiting to limit ourselves to a scientific understanding of things when there's clearly another dimension. When we use words all the time, like Beit HaMikdash is basher, all that kind of thing, what we're saying is, okay, Hashem has a cheshbon, but which is a nice. It's not nice and true, but this is it's not necessarily all that we think it means that Hashem has a cheshbon. What it means is that okay, we're seeing the dimension here, which might be a dimension of tsar, for instance, but that tsar there might be another dimension to this, which is the dimension of something else is going on. Now that something else that's going on, just forget about how it divides up in worlds. That something else going on might be the opposite of what's happening over here. I believe I read to you a medrash in Parshas Vayera, not Parshas Vayera, Parshas Vayeshev, that the medrash speaks about that what was going on here. The Shvatim were trying to sell Yosef. Yehuda was looking for a shidduch. Yaakov was b'sakoi b'tanesa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yosef, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kiviyachol was sitting and planning the Geula. So it's not something different than let the people sell Yosef. What the dimension that even Yaakov Avinu didn't understand, otherwise he wouldn't be Yosef B'sakei B'tanisai, was that there was a whole Geula being planned here. It's Shibud Mitzrayim. It's something that Shibud Mitzrayim. Okay, we were there's anti-Semitism in this world. It's been forever there. We can understand it on that level, but what's going on with the Shibud Mitzrayim was a hachana for the Geula. This is all deep things. So the dimension that we tend to immediately understand things on, which is a true dimension to some level, but a limited dimension. So when we say something is bashert, what we really mean is that simultaneous to what we touch and feel and what we see with our own eyes, there's another dimension which is going on at the same time, which we sometimes know. Sometimes there's a gilui in the Torah. Sometimes we could have Ruach HaKodesh and access it. But generally speaking, we don't know how selling Yosef. I mean, just imagine Yosef in the pit. So he might be saying, okay, Kodesh Shemayim, snakes, the he might be saying Yosef was the Ish Emunah, notoriously. But at the same time, it's unclear whether he understood. We're being Isaac right now in Matan Torah, we're being Isaac in Mashiach. Except for to have the idea that probably there's something more to this that meets the eye. So what's extremely important when we say it's Basher is what we're really saying is we're pleading ignorance to the truth of the situation that we're in right now. We're ignorance in terms of according to our limited knowledge. Now, you go to a din Torah. I explained this last week. So, ein l'dayin elamash ein avrayis. He's dealing right here. You're saying this, you're saying that. This is the way it seems to me, and that's emes. That is called emes. But then there's a gather the Gemara says of kol adon did emes la avita. Without even knowing about it, you were somehow mechavid the dayana. But we believe that they have the siyata d'shmaya if they're proper dayana at a proper base to the Shchina l'bala b'reishaisa. That in a certain way, there is a possibility, pretty much out of their control, more involved with their madrega than with their minds, that they're working in this world did MS, but then there's MS Lamita. You know what? This is also working at a higher world, and at a higher world, at a higher world. So this is a really changes everything.
And history is a window on that.
So it's very interesting. Like just two examples of what we don't see. Three examples. We'll give three examples of what we don't see. We can see what's going on right now. Do we understand Schar V'Oinish? People think that they can get a glimpse of Schar V'Oinish. This happened to me. Just a tough. Somebody came to speak to yesterday. Like she was saying that, when something bad happens to her, she's right away toilet in a certain avera. You know. But she can't always be toilet, so what should she do when she can't be toilet? I mean, I told you, you're at a much higher madriga than I am. I'm not, like, who knows what...
But somebody's in the Muslim strong, you find, they say, well, if somebody becomes poor, and there's different Torah,
Gemara, yeah, so sometimes, that's what I said, we can get a glimpse, but to say that somebody is such a chacham and such a navi that they can always understand who, what, why, who can understand schar v'oilish, who can understand. And then when you take schar v'oilish, there's also gilgulim. Might not even have to do with us. And then there's just simply what Rabbi Elazar said. There's the din of there's the union of history. Yaakov Yoshev V'Sakeh V'Tadesai, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being Makar of the Gula. So sometimes something happens to us, and it's a scientifically a bad thing that happened, right? Person has an illness. Sorry, sir, you have a cancer which is growing, God forbid, within you. Okay, you know, what am I going to understand other than the fact that I'm dying? But what's happening is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being Makar of the Gula, Biyodeh. But to say that we can understand this, we can have a glimpse here and there. But to say that we understand it is to be not just not a wise way to live, it's a very troubling way to live, you know. But to say that everything's bashert is a surrender, I believe, to a higher level. That there's what we understand, there's what we just don't understand. And when people say, why do the righteous suffer, the correct answer is, I have no idea. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, who, as I explained, is in the world of Bria, Achoyz B'kisei HaKavod. He somehow ascended from the world of Asiya on Har Sinai to the world of Yetzirah, to the world of Bria. Achoyz B'kisei HaKavod V'Hashem Lem Tshuva. Reading, he was in the world of Malachim. There's going on Malachim is going on there, which is what I want to talk about here today. Malachim, what that is. But so you to stick to Yiddishkeit, Malachim. But Moshe Rabbeinu was over the world of Malachim, and in that world he said, "Hareini noas kvoidcha." Lamer verstehen bissel. Like I want to get it. Lo yarani adav v'chai. You're going to get another world. You're asking to understand what Malachim don't understand. You're asking. There is a dimension which nobody understands. See, I was at a chuppah a couple of weeks ago. I was actually with Sadar Kedushin, so there was this very chashuv Rav walking. I was with the Chassid Kala, walking to back from the chuppah, outside, away from the chuppah, and I was walking behind them because that's where I was standing. And this very chashuv Rav, much more chashuv than anything I hope to be, got a long white beard and everything. He was walking next to me, and people were throwing, what do you call those things, like sparkles, those sparkles, glitter, yeah, at the Chassid and Kalos. So. Okay, so, like this is one of the hazards of being Masader Kedusha, that afterwards you take off your hand and it's blue and it's green, it's where you look like the Christmas baby over here when you come out of the, Anyways, so this guy got a glitter thing in his eye, just as he's walking with me. And he's like, whoa, and so I said, are you okay? We're just walking all the noise and the music and this, so he said, Kibelti, but, like he got one of those glitter things in his eye. So I said, oh. So he says to me, "V'Aniodea b'diyuk lama kibalti et zabayin." Okay, I'm standing next to a very holy man. Yeah. Probably because you should have been wearing these safety goggles here in this situation. It's hard to say. For sure, there was a reason, and for sure everything has a reason. For sure everything has a reason. But to say Aniodea b'diyuk, okay. I'm trying. At best, I just want to say this Nakuda here. Well, at best, one can talk about why something happens to yourself. Because your own neshama, your own Ruach HaKodesh, can be telling you, I know why this happened to me. But at best. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. To say why something happened to somebody else,
seems easier.
Usher. I told the story of Rabbi Yaacov Haber, that I in Camp Torvadas years ago. I spent the summer in Camp Torvadas. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, used to take his vacation. He was involved in the camp at all. It was like his bungalow colony. He sat and learned and he was there, Jamus, who was there, and that on during the 9 days, which was on campus. So a kid drowned in the lake. Terrible, they were in your summer. A kid drowned in the lake, and they made a kenos, which is important because, like kids don't know what to do with, what do you do with this, Kid died, we were just playing with him an hour ago, what's up? And the head rabbi, the camp or whatever he was, so he got up to talk to all the kids. I remember sitting on the grass, and like it was dark, and he's telling about we have to understand, we have to make a cheshbon on Nefesh. It's because kids talk lashon hara and they bully each other and they, all kind of whole, like wow. And Rabbi Yaacov Haber never said a word. He looked like he got up to talk uninvited. He got up to talk, and he said they listened to the Rabbi so-and-so speak. And he said, "How do you know? Are you a navi?" So he said, "Are you a navi?" How can you even say such a thing? How to say that they killed this kid? Nobody should walk around with this. Nobody. We have no idea what the derech of Hashem is and what the chachma of Hashem is and this and that. The guy, by the way, as I recall, quit his job. In other words, he took it as a gadol ador telling him he's not a mechanech. He was right. But I'm sure it was psychological reasons that Rabbi Yaakov couldn't stand that every kid is walking away here feeling they just murdered somebody. Going around with that for the rest of their life. But also the hashkafa Sadavar was so pashut and so clear. So
for the individual now, how do we do this exercise with ourselves without becoming neurotic?
So the answer is you don't do it if you're becoming neurotic. The answer is that we really don't know. If you feel that something is bringing you to tshuva, look, there's so many levels of it. I forgot to daven Marv last night. I went to sleep. I forgot to daven Marv last night. I'm having a horrible day today. Kashur or lo kashur. I don't want to take away anybody's chizik from davening Marv. If it gives you a better day, do it. Who even knows that I'm having a bad day? Maybe it's just an uncomfortable day. It doesn't mean that it's a bad day. It's really a lot of these things are a question of how you. I was taking my exercise walk last night with my daughter, and an ambulance, a Hatzalah ambulance went by. It was at 10 o'clock at night. A Hatzalah ambulance went by. Our Hatzalah followed by 2 motorcycles. So he said a whole thing. He said, "Oh yeah, what's going to be?" I said, "Look, why are you looking at it that way? Somebody's life is being saved. Maybe a baby is being born." I don't know what the motorcycles are going to do exactly about. That's a different story. But it's miodea. You see something on the outside. Who knows what's going on the inside? Who knows? Does the guy who's in the ambulance know? Does the person themselves know? Who knows what's going on? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're sitting beside V'tanei saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bringing the Mashiach. Like that's all. Like we just there comes a point when you have to plead ignorance, and the question of, in this regard, the question of why do the righteous suffer is an arrogant question. And that's where Hashem had to put Moshe Rabbeinu in his place.
Because we think we can...
Yeah, if you don't see it, no. It's the same arrogance when people say, well, it's hard for me, Torah, Yiddishkeit, because I'm a scientific, So they make themselves into big intellectual. You're a tippish. Meaning if you're, and I've said this to many people, if you're a scientist, better than anybody else, you should understand that just like the non-scientists don't understand what you understand, you don't understand what the Nevi'im understood. In other words, you're already menusa in the fact that that it's impossible to understand everything, right? So because you understand a tipat mayim shebetoch hayam, now if you don't understand it, it isn't. It isn't. What kind of gaiva is that? So when I look at it, I don't look at it as a scientific challenge to the, you're tippish. And about gaiva.
They're always figuring out that they were wrong also.
Besides the fact, right? Besides the fact that they're not even right in the science, not necessarily. Even the science is not necessarily good. What science is correct.
If Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't do it, how did Chazal do it?
So Chazal had, different Messiahs, that certain things can be goyim other things. So Chazal say something that, like if you are mavaza crumbs of bread, you could come to aniyus. It can bring you to it's kosher aniyus. They had a Messiah somehow or another. That's what's going on in the upper world. But the guy next to me at the chuppah knew much more than Chazal. he was. You look at the Tanoim, the Asara Aruge Malchus, who are sitting ready to be decapitated by the ISIS of its time, the Romans, ready to be decapitated, and they were busy with Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, Rabbi Gamliel. What did Makara? Like what's going on over here? And this is what they're doing in the room, in the execution chamber. They're sitting trying to figure out, is there anything, why do they want to know? Maybe I can do tshuva before I die. That's all they wanted to know. Maybe I can do tshuva. So I think it was Rabbi Shmuel said to Rabbi Gamliel, when you walk in to give a shiur, and 3,000 people stand up and are quiet, does that get to your head a little bit? So, when there's people waiting in your waiting room and you make them, the Gemara says, let me take a break for a minute and you tie your shoe, as I'll say, and there's a crying widow outside. Did that ever happen to you? What was the answer? Lichamtanu Rabbeinu nichamtanu. Okay. I could get. You gave me the holy Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, who went lefnayu lefnim, was able to guess. It was just guessing at a certain koach. But that's the thing is at a certain cause and effect that can possibly happen. I don't even know if he knew if it was happens.
Maybe they're thinking about why the Torah didn't defend them, not why.
Right, and the answer is there's a whole history going on here. There's Gilgulim going on here. There's who doesn't mean it's not difficult. I'm not saying it's not difficult. I don't even know if there's a nechama. He found the nechama, the fact that gives some meaning. The last thing anybody should ever do is go into a shiva house and try to explain why the tragedy happened. The Shulchan Aruch says that's al taseh kechavrei Iyov. It's the last thing anybody should do. What should you say to shiva house? Shtum. You're there to let the other person, to let the oval talk. You're not there to talk. Your comfort is in quietude. Your comforting is not. And by the way, most people, myself included, as you grow up, you're hesitant to go into a shiva house. It's awkward. What am I supposed to say? And until I realized that it's a law lie to explain anything or to say anything, I was also uncomfortable. Now I run for it because I have an opportunity to be quiet. And that's the right thing to say. Where else? Every place else you go, like, you say a heart? No heart. Just as long as you don't come between Mincha and Myers. We're all set. You got the strategies of a rabbi. But okay, so that's one yesod. We covered that. There's always sikum. There's always a dimension above us. And the dimension is a dimension which is out of our realm of experience, period. Can we get a glimpse? So it's kineshama l'guf. That's the lashon of the Zohar Reb Chaim Volozhin is talking about. Kineshama l'guf. The neshama is not something that anybody can see. Doesn't show up on an X-ray. It's not scientific, but it's there. The scientists talk about. We can analyze genetically a human being. We can analyze two human beings, and they're the same genetics, identical twins, let's say. They're the same genetics. They're the same. Everything's the same. Yet they have different personalities. Mazeh. How could that be? And it's not even experiential. Or they could have the same. You can say it. So they talk about something called a quantifier. That there's what we don't know. What we don't know is the personality. Personality. That's kid stuff compared to. That's just the beginning of the world of Yetzirah, of Yetzirah, which is above the world of Asiya. That's just a little bit metaphysical personality. You're just going into a little bit, start going into Yetzirah, to Bria, to Atzilus, Elanu Musa. That's
Where's the
the,
real neshamas in this?
what?
Where's the real neshamas?
Where is it? What do you want to know?
Or unless will we know everything after we die? We understand Hakadosh Baruch Hu to its full extent?
No,
Still not.
no. I think it says that when Mashiach comes, everything becomes clear.
Oh.
Everything becomes clear. Meaning, the bayot of history become clear.
Can
Everything? The bayot of history we can understand. This is why this happened, this is why it happened. Can we say there was a Holocaust, therefore there's a state of Israel? Maybe in 500 years we could say that. We can look at unemotionally at a timeline of history and say, oh, if not for this, that, if not for that, this. There's such a thing. Nobody can say it as long as it's their grandfather who died. It's not Mr. Like, is it that a terrible thing? Is this a wonderful thing? Cause and effect? Does the state of Israel justify the death of millions and millions and millions of Chashuv people? But these kind of statements, ladati, are so trite it should never be said. Never be said. If you're someplace, where was God during the Holocaust? I don't know. Like, what was Hashem doing? Abisaki v'tadaisa, and Yaakov Avinu knew everything we know. But nevertheless, his world was the world of sak v'tainus. Sak v'efer, that was his world. So that's point one. Also, like, delving in as an important introduction, and delve into the esoteric world for a moment to try to explain Malachim, which the Nevi'im are full of. Yecheskel HaNavi spoke about Nevi'im, about Malachim rather, and Daven referring to Malachim. And I'm not talking about the specific Malachim, which there's hundreds of, most notably Gavriel, Michael, Raphael, Malachim Avos, those things we know about. But there's types of Malachim. And the types of Malachim that we know about are Efanim, Chayes HaKodesh, familiar words, right? Srafim, Chashmal. So Chashmal, that doesn't appear anywhere in Davening, right? So apparently, in the types of Malachim, and I'll explain why, we could have a bit of a concept in Oifanim and Chayes HaKodesh and Srafim, and Chashmal's Lamalim. The electric is, I once Googled what's the difference between Oifanim and Chashmal? So I got an advertisement for an electric bicycle. Ofalayim Chashmali. Okay, so that's about our koach in the Chashmal, But so let me just say a couple things. Lefi Mach Erchi, I'm just saying, according to what I think. I'm just really more explaining what we don't understand than what we do understand. First of all, the Christians invented this idea based on some literal psukim of angels being things, like with wings and flying around.
Where did that come from?
The Nevuah of Yecheskel, maybe, Knafayim. It's not what it is. What we need to understand is, because the world of Ruchnius, once you get out of the world of Gashmius, there's no wings. Ragleim, Regel Yeshara. There's no Raglayim, they're not going anywhere. What's the Regel Yeshara? It's all, obviously, as the Rambam says over and over again, it's mashal. Mashal, which was Meskalata, so we need to understand it. But the better way, like if you can delete that picture out of your mind, you see even in Judaica books, which I work in, like pictures of Malachim, flying around, like by the Akedah, Malach Hashem, you see it. But what was going on there that a Malach Hashem called out to Avram Avinu and said, Al tishlach yodcha el anar, al tasle ma'uma, atu yadati kireo, right? The Malach said that. Agav, Hashem told him to do the Yakedah, and the Malach told him not to do it. So, like Pesha Aser, Pesha Yitter, right? Because Baruch Hu told him to do it. You know, Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishaim. Hashem said to do it, and the Malach said not to do it. So why did he listen to Hashem? Why didn't he listen to Hashem? He could have looked at the Malach as like a Yetzer Hara, right? A little voice inside me told me not to do it. Okay, but a big voice outside of you told you to do it. You know. So it opens up. Forget those pictures for a minute. It opens up. The question is, what is a Malach? And the answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created different kohos in the Bria, like he created in the world. We see the sun and the moon and the stars and a person, and magnetism and electricity and gravity. It's kohos ateva. There's also kohos in higher worlds, and those kohos, that's all, kohos. Those kohos are malachim. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're not talking about things, b'chlal. We're talking about energies, let's say, kohos.
So chashmal, I mean, like...
There's a koach.
Chashmal could be
It's a good example.
That's what...
Yeah, it's a good example. But we're talking about, and in the kohos, which only tzaddikim like Avraham Avinu were able to tap into, I think this, what I'm going to say now is very important, so remember this, I'm not saying a vart. I think that Avraham Avinu, Hashem told him to do the Akedah. He went and he did the Akedah, and because of his Mesiras Nefesh, he was Zoycha to Gilui of a Malach. It's not like some kind of machlekes, do it, don't do it. What does it mean he was Zoycha to the Gilui of a Malach? Or what it means to say is that he was able to access because of the madrega gavoya of his neshama at the moment of the neshama, of the moment of the akedah. Ato yadati ki yirei elikimata, so he was able to tap in to a higher koyach, and that's the koyach of a malach. He saw an upper working, a bigger picture, and that bigger picture said, "Don't do it." You could go with that wherever you want, but that's the emes of it. It's not that the Malach wasn't a downgrade from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it was an upgrade of his own neshama. To tap into a koach in the bria, in the higher world. You see something for a second. The mashal of the Arizal is always in mind of. The Arizal speaks at the very beginning of the Sefer about the person who's walking through a dark forest and he's lost. He doesn't know where he's going, and lightning for a second, the whole forest lights up. And he gets a 1 second, split second glimpse of everything, and then it goes away. Lashon, that's the mashal of the Arizal. What he's referring to over there is a moment of gilui. That was the moment of Avraham Avinu saw a big picture, saw a bigger picture, which he felt. The Brisker Rav said, but he was already makar, he was already makadosh the carbon, he was already did so Brisker Rav says, like, why didn't he do the Akedah? Like, l'chor has a chiyuv to do the Akedah. So he's masbir. That's why he was begging Hashem, just take a drop of dam, something, But so he says it was quite a mountain Torah, like halachically. Which is it's like a brisker vart on the one hand, it's a very holy vart on another hand, because Mount Torah says we're working in this world. So in the world of Asiya, maybe mostly, like the Ramchal says, we're the Malachim. Mostly, meaning Ein Bein. The Ramchal says there's nothing much between a person and a Malach, except a person is in a human form, because we're in this Gashmius world, and we have Bechira Chavshis. Malachim don't have Bechira Chavshis. So therefore, we tend to think of Malachim as people without Bechira Chavshis and wings. But we're a we're a koach in the Bria also. Means we are also Malachim. We are also a koach in the Bria in terms of what we can do with our Maisa, what we can do with our Nefesh, with our Ruach, and with our Neshama. What we can do with Limud HaTorah, what we can do with Machshav. We are also, like there's Gavriel, there's Malachim, and then there's HaChaim, Elazar, and like that's a koach in the Bria. Goyim are also Malachim. This is kochas in the Bria that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought, but in a very Lamaisa Dika world. So,
Are we all shlichim?
a Malach means Shaliach.
So we're all just the Bechira.
We have Bechira. We can choose to, we can opt out,
All energies.
which is
All
stupid
energies is what?
to be, right. It's just kochas of the Bria. What are you doing in the Bria?
So
You can opt out, do for yourself. A Malach can't do that. Because a Malach will just disappear. We eventually disappear because if a person makes that choice, as I keep saying on the Perek here, then like come b'tchiyas hamesim, your neshama failed. Because of your bechira, you're a failed neshama. That's what kares is. That's what kares is. Sometimes you don't even make it through this world. But ein l'chelik lo'elam haba. That's kares. But Kol Yisrael yesh lem chelik lo'elam haba means that we are all neshamas that are malachim. So take the job seriously. That's the important thing here. You take that job seriously. In that sense, a malach is the malach called Adam is bigger than any malachim that are out there because we have that element more executive because we have the union of but the fact that we're people is incidental. That's because we're in the world of Gashmias. We die, we're not people anymore. But so again, the Christians like to say became an angel. Well, maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? But no makor to say that kind of a thing. But as long as we're here, we're angels. That's for sure. We didn't become an angel. We started off that way. There was an angel in the sense of a shaliach Hashem, a koach Hashem, a malach.
Will we die with the same energy level as Malachim then? Once we die? What?
I don't know. But we say like Rav Chodoim Lamalach Hashem Tzvakos. Your Rebbe has to be like a malach. That's what does that mean? Your Rebbe has to be like a malach. Tzaddik? Tzaddik is a tzaddik. Tzaddik is not a malach. A malach means that he's chosen, is using his koach that Hashem gave him for you. The malach is here if the purpose of this malach is to teach Torah, that's the purpose of this malach. Everybody has to know their chiluk. What is their energy? And what's beautiful about the whole thing is that nobody has the same energy. Like nobody, no two people have the same energy. So that quantifier, if you will, is different in every person. In Malachim, in this koach, there's as I say 4 kochos that we know about. There's chashmal, which we don't know about except to know that it exists because Yechezkel speaks about it. And then there's, as I say, there's the lowest level is Oifanim, a level in the next world is Chayos, HaKodesh, harder to understand. And then there's Srafim. See, let me just explain something before I get. I'm going to keep on saying I say this before I get there, and I'm not going to get there. So, the cliffhanger. But here's what we need to know when we daven. So. We're going through worlds when we daven. you start the morning off with Birchas HaShachar and Korbanos and all very Maisa, the world of Asiya. Very Maisa, right? Took flour, took Levina, took this, burnt it. When you get on to Psukei de Zimra, so now you moved from the world of Asiya to the world of Yetzirah. This is not me saying, it's Arizal saying. You moved into a higher dimension of Yetzirah. There we're being Meshabeach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zmiris. We're talking about the Niflais HaBayra, we're the Chavis HaVavis, where we're using David HaMelech's words to describe the unbelievable patterns of history and the unbelievable Red Hashelag, Kfar, and all the different Niflais HaBayra, Chavis HaVavis, right? That's the Psukei de Zimra. So we went from Asiya to Yetzirah. When we get to, says Arizal, when we get to Birchas, Kriyashma, and Kriyashma, we're working in the world of Bria, which is here. Like look at it this way. We went from our hands to our heart, Psuke de Zimra, to our minds. So the minds is the world of Bria. There we're philosophical. Achdus Hashem. There's Malachim in every one of these worlds, but those Malachim are doing different things. And when we get to Shemona Esrei, we're in the world of Atzilus. Now when we describe all this in Davening, in Birchas Kriya Shema, so when we describe it twice. Let's not give. So the first place we describe it is in the Birchas Kriya Shema. And we say, Chulam makablim aleim o malchus shemayim zeh mizeh. All kulam, all these malachim makablim aleim o malchus shemayim zeh mizeh. This can't be too remote Kabbalah that I'm saying, because we tell every kid to daven this. But nice to reshus elazeh lahaktish liyotzra menachas ruach. They're all doing the same thing. In this, there's unity. They're all there lahaktish liyotzra menachas ruach b'safa rura v'neima kedusha kulam kachan oinim v'oimrim kadosh kadosh kadosh. V'hoifanim v'chayis hakodesh brash gadol misnasim lu masrafim. Okay. Then there's Oifanim, and then there's Chayis HaKodesh. Barash Gadol they are. Misnasim lu'umas rafim lu'umasam mishabchim v'yomer. Baruch Kavod Hashem min kaimai. Baruch. So you have here the lower the world, the more carved to the world of Gashmis that we are, the more noise there is. Do you notice, like, your brain doesn't make any noise? Right? People crack their necks and they can't crack your brain. The noise, and it's doing more than every other organ. The Pnimi organs don't make any noise, usually. The more external it is, the more noise it makes. I was masber this last week, or a couple weeks ago. The union of the Mishkan is that you had the three. You had the Azara, you had the Kodesh, and you had the Kodesh HaKadosh. In the Azara, there's a lot of noise. Cows and fire and Atzei Maracha and arguments. Very Gashmi. Then you went into the world of Ketoris, which was the inside. There's no hakrava there. There's no noise there. It's still. So that was the world of. That was a higher world. And then you went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, or you didn't go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. This was completely quiet. Nobody goes in there even. Nobody. So what's happening is as the worlds are descending, it gets noisier and noisier and noisier. That's why Eliyahu Hanavi said, I want to, be Margish HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shama Kol. Okay, that voice must be HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Loi B'Kol Hashem, Loi B'Rash Hashem, Loi B'Ruach Hashem, Ki'im Kol D'Mama Daka. Still, quiet. It's part of the site of being quiet in a shiva house. The site of being quiet in a shiva house is that the quietude itself, not because we don't know what to say, better not to say anything, that we're acknowledging that there's a higher world. And in that world, it's quiet. Stop talking. People talk. These are people that are stuck in this world. They don't stop talking. You can't stand even being in an elevator for 30 seconds without talking. Nice day we're having today, huh? Hot enough for you? No. What are we talking here? What are we about they can't stand quiet. It's such an interesting thing, they can't stand quiet. I always think to myself that people go out of shidduch, like they say, well, did you have good conversation? What did you do? Did you have quiet? I always said to my kids that now were you comfortable talking? Were you comfortable being quiet together?
And as you get older, you can't stand noise.
That's right. No, but let's say you're on a date, and there's a lull in the conversation. If that was awkward, that means you're connecting here, but you're not connecting here. Are you comfortable with the quiet? person is really has a relationship with their husband and wife, it can be quiet. It's okay if it's quiet. It's nothing. Why don't you talk? That's for the elevators. That's for very, very superficial. What are we supposed to do? Do ruchnias together?
Kaddish is in that is Haviyachol in the lower world, and the Baruch is in that.
Opposite. Barash Gadol. Kaddish, just to make it simple, Kaddish means separate, esoteric. That's what Kedusha means. Kaddish, Harush. That's what it means. Yes. So the Kaddish is the highest world. That's where everything is starting. And then, V'hoifanim v'chayis HaKodesh, Barash Gadol, Misnasim, L'umas Rafim, Baruch, Kvod Hashem Im Koimai. We come to the world of Baruch. This world is the world of bracha. See, when you're davening, you should not daven for Hashem's kedusha. It's you're davening for bracha. Let that kedusha manifest itself into my parnasa, into my health, into my life, into my nachas. That's where the bracha is. So bracha is when heaven hits earth hard. Bracha or klala, depending on how you choose. So what happens is bracha, birchas kohanim. We're saying take something from up there which is quiet, and what's the din with the kohanim? What's the main din that they have to do? B'kol ram. Kohanim cannot say this by themselves. There can't be a shemei kohanim when it comes to kohanim, because it's you're taking something which is completely quiet. That's coming down. That's when you're coming down. And you're bringing it to a place of Rash Gadol, Yivarechecha, right? That's making the bracha is B'kol Rash Gadol. Understand this. When we're going upwards, this is a two-way street. Ratzah B'shav. When you're going upwards, so you're going upwards to a place of quiet. Atzilus Shmon Esrei. Nobody's allowed to even hear your voice. So what's nobody, not even the person next to you, is allowed to hear your voice. You're allowed to hear your own voice only to be Ma'ir your kavan. Because I'm still a little bit ba'olam hagashmi. So I'm like just saying a drop of what I want to say, which is a drop of what is. But let me just end with this idea, if you'll give me one more minute. It's so interesting that when we're saying this in Birchos Kriyas Shema, so we're saying it, but it's pretty much benichusa, meaning like we're sitting down, we're not standing up. You're not supposed to stand up. We're saying it out loud. If there's an important hefsek to make, you're allowed to be mafsik. Then we daven Shemon Esrei, and then we say it again in kedusha. And there we seem to take it much more seriously. Like you're quiet, you stand up, your feet are together, we're jumping up and down. People, I noticed my observation that even in shuls where they talk a lot, here Baruch Hashem nobody talks, but during davening, but even in shuls they talk a lot, mostly they're quiet during kedusha. I don't know how they pulled that off, but it's a time. So why is it that we're saying the exact same words, Kaddish, 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 Baruch Kvod Hashem Im Koimai? Why are we saying it so much more seriously in Kedusha than we are in Birchos Kriyas Shema? When in Chazar Sashatz, we're a little more relaxed. And just to leave you with this idea. The pshat is very simple. That when we're saying Birchos Kriyas Shema, we're describing what the Malachim are doing. Sipur Dvar Ba'al. When we're saying Kedusha, we're not describing what the Malachim are doing. We're doing what the Malachim are doing. Nekadesh es shimcha ba'olam. Let us do it now, human Malachim. How do we know what to do? Kishem shemaktishem oisei v'shmei moraim. The same way that the Malachim are doing, we too are Malachim. We too could be doing this. How do we know? How do we know what the Malachim are doing? Hakosuv al yad nevi'echa. Because the Nevi'im told us. That's all. So what we're doing is we're chazering in Birchos Kriyas Shema, which is the world of Bria. We're saying what happened. Okay, here's the story so far. Sikum. Here's what happens in Asiya. Here's what happens in Yitzira. Here's what happens in Bria. We daven Shemar Esrei. Here's what's going on in Asilos. Quiet. And now we've learned from the Nevi'im that we can do stuff that Malachim can do, And therefore, Raglayim Regel Yishar, we stand up. We put our feet together. We say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Nekadesh Shimcha Ba'olam, we are the Malachim. That's a whole different story. We are the Malachim, and that's the difference between the same words in two different places. We've only touched on what they do, but what we have, the Sikum, is the three sections of the Beit HaMikdash, which is connected the three Olamais, the three sections of Eliyahu Navi's Nevuah, of Rash, Kol, Rash, Ruach, and the highest section of Kol Damama, Daka. That's the highest level of quiet. The different levels that Moshe Rabbeinu climbed up onto, the different types of Malachim, which is Oifanim, B'chayis HaKodesh, and Srafim. That's a type. So these are like types of, like you have men, women. There's Oifanim and Chayis HaKodesh and Srafim and Chashmal. That doesn't name Malachim. It's types, different types of Malachim. High Malachim, low Malachim, and therefore we do. And then our Tefillah, which is divided into the same sections, and our Avodah, which is in the same sections. And you see the level of Hefsek gets harder and harder as you go more and more. Birchas created Birchas. Somebody says good morning to you in the middle of Birchas HaShachar, you say good morning, right? But it gets more intense as you get to in Shemona Esrei, Afilu Nachash Karach Al Raglai. You're not mafsik in Shemona Esrei. And the Kedusha is the highest level. Why? Because Kedusha, we're mamish, we're enacting the Malachim Shibbanim. That's the key over here.
The Malachim in different worlds, they can see each other through the different worlds?
Yes.
Obviously, they obviously can see each other.
This is where the bottom of one world touches the top of the
I see.
other. We need to call.
I'm looking at it. I'm trying to get away a little bit, but it's.